Okay, so I am a little scared to make this video. I've just been thinking about it for a while, but I think it's important because I already made a video about part of the story and I wanted to continue and kind of finish it off. Maybe like a month ago, I made a video about me going to see a Dave Chappelle show, and then I also talked about some of my thoughts on controversy surrounding Dave Chappelle. That video got quite a few comments and I read all of them. So basically I went through the comments, picked some of the ones that I felt I could most address or were worth addressing. Not that like all of the comments weren't helpful or great, it's just some of them I felt like I could actually contribute to the conversation, and some of them, even though I read them, I don't feel like I have like much else to say about that. I wrote a lot of notes on just some main points that I wanted to mention when responding to these comments. And yeah, so I guess I'm just gonna go for it. But before I start, I just wanted to say I really do appreciate that like people have been commenting, and then especially with this video, there were quite a few people who disagreed with what I said, but it felt much more like they were trying to inform me, which I think is what people say when they're commenting a lot, and then it usually ends up not being that, but it felt more like this, and at least they presented their thoughts or their opinions in a way that felt much more palatable to me than generally most of the comments. So thank you everyone who commented on that video and who has been commenting. It's definitely an important part of making the vlogs for me, and I do sometimes pick, not sometimes, actually a lot of the time, your guys' comments tend to determine the vlogs, at least currently for me. So yeah, keep on commenting and let's get into it. All right, so this comment is really long. Amy says, I appreciate you trying to grapple with appreciating a person who has a following. It makes you laugh with knowing that his actions are offensive and potentially dangerous. I understand you appreciate just touching and being in the presence with a person who has a large audience and voice, and watching how this operated and viewing him. She then goes on to say, you are your own person, you can like whom you like, but that doesn't mean others will align with your likes. You also have the right to change your mind as you learn and grow. Well, first of all, I really appreciate that. Being your age to me means taking in as much info and learning as much as a young adult as you can as a young adult, and then you can learn and watch to see how various people impact others who have large platforms. You can also learn how it is to like someone who hurts people with their jokes, but also laugh at some of the jokes. It's hard because you have to struggle with who you associate your name with. The reality is that you are you, and you have the ability to change your mind as you grow. I liked this comment. It felt to me like she wasn't nitpicking. She was doing the opposite. She was taking something as a whole, which is something that I really appreciate, because no one likes, you know, when you take things out of context, it can be pretty hurtful, especially if as a creator you create something and you're specifically making sure that you add these things in it. So I really appreciate how she also seems to be having like a very large perspective. And by that, I mean, the comment doesn't at all feel like narrow-minded to me. Very also acceptive of just what little I show on the vlog of myself, which is really nice to read something. I get the feeling from this comment that she probably disagreed with what I said. Obviously, she did not say that, but it was definitely an interesting way of addressing that, because it didn't seem like she was talking about my opinions, but much more about the place in life that I am at. It definitely made me feel reflective, which is the reason why I look at comments, is because I want to reflect on the content that I'm putting out and how it affects people. So thank you, Amy, for sharing that. It was a long comment, and I really appreciate it. It definitely seems like you took a lot of time to think about what you were saying, even like the wording, which is really cool to see that as a response. Next comment. Kira Manners says, I guess you don't really have the right to comment since you aren't trans, LOL. Why would be offended by comments that aren't related to you? If trans people feel victimized and offended by his comments. There's a comment like this, and then there's, I think, another one, possibly two. I'm gonna try not to repeat myself, but to this one, I'll just say that in some ways, I think this is true. Let me read that again. I would rather this person have said, I don't feel like you have the right to comment, because I do have the right to comment. I mean, for me, I really appreciate facts, and if I feel like this is really nitpicky of me, but I don't know. It was a really short comment. This is kind of hard for me to know how to respond to. I don't know if it's fair for someone to tell me that I'm not trans, because the way that I've come to understand how the LGBTQ community works, at least in my life, as an example, my mom changed her pronouns to they, them, and it's been really hard for me to know how to interact that closely with someone in my life with something that for a while felt like I had nothing to do with. One of the things that she has pointed out, which I still don't know how I feel about this, basically she told me that even before she changed her pronouns or became gender fluid, she wasn't a woman. But it took her, 40 plus years to feel, I guess, comfortable with being who she actually was, or labeling who she actually was. That's why I don't like that this person just told me I don't have a right to comment because I'm not trans. I wish I had more of a response than that, but because it's such a short comment, that's what came to mind when I was reading that comment. All right, let's move on. Man, I'm kind of nervous about putting this vlog out because it's really hard. There's a lot of different opinions out there, and you can just not, you can't really make anybody happy when it comes to this stuff, which is definitely something that I've been learning when you put yourself out there. So someone responded to that comment, and this is someone else's conversation, but I did read it because I was like, oh. And basically said, as a black person, if you aren't offended from the jokes that he makes about black people, then I feel you shouldn't be offended about the trans jokes either. If you don't like comedy, then stay home. It's really simple. Basically, that I have as much of a right to an opinion as the person who said that I don't have a right to comment because I'm not trans. And she responds and says, no, I'm white. I can't sit here and decide if his comments are racist or not, as I'm not black. That's the point. And then she goes on to tell this person that they're not trans, which once again, I just don't feel like, I don't know, and this stuff gets really complicated. I don't really know if I have an answer to that, other than that I don't like that she's telling me, oh my gosh. I don't like that this person is telling me, Then goes on to tell another person in the comments, who I highly doubt they actually know, that they're not trans, because as an example, like, I'm just beginning to know myself and I'm constantly changing, so it's hard to get to know anyone when they're constantly changing. So it's very hard to know someone, and if you just don't know that person, I don't like that she did that, basically. I'm gonna stop talking about this comment now because I don't really have anything else to say. And then someone comments, an idea for video number 2, a teenager's stance on cancel culture. Do your homework in closets. I have thought about doing a video on cancel culture. This is not that video, although there may be some elements of that in here. Okay, this is a very long comment. It's probably the longest comment that I'm gonna read today, and it's gonna take up the majority of the time, because I actually spent like a lot of time thinking about a response to this comment, and then it's gonna take a while to read it. Sam says, Dave Chappelle's jokes against the trans community inherently lack empathy because he's putting trans lives in danger by platforming really dangerous rhetoric. So I have a lot of notes on this one. One thing, I would stand by what I said in the other video that I made about Dave Chappelle. I don't think he lacks empathy, and like, I went as far as to look up the definition of empathy, which is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. I don't think he lacks empathy. Obviously, using my own argument against my own argument against someone else in this video, I don't know him, so someone who knows him could be like, no, he does lack empathy. But from what I've heard him speak quite a bit. I don't feel like, if he's lacking in something, I don't feel like it's empathy. So I'll start there. It's one thing to have an opinion about a group of people. I guess technically we are all entitled to them, but it's another thing to share that opinion with millions of people. Netflix shares responsibility with Chappelle for the damage this will cause to an already incredibly vulnerable community. Words matter, people matter, words to people is power that matters. With great power comes great responsibility. As part of the LGBTQ community, I wish more famous people and platforms in positions of power made more empathetic decisions in how/when it gets wielded. So this person identifies as part of the LGBTQ plus community. So in a way, he's right. Like, I can't really argue with that. This is his opinion, and like mine, he's completely entitled to share it. I think where I started to get lost as to why this was the way, I'm just gonna say it, okay. Sam puts it, putting trans lives in danger, whatever, his lack of empathy is putting trans lives in danger. It's not, of course he didn't say exactly that, but that's what I took it as. I feel like that is a separate issue. Like I said, I don't think he lacks empathy, so I think that putting trans lives in danger, I think there is, like, obviously a very huge issue there. I don't feel like what he was giving as a reason for this problem it doesn't make sense to me, the way that he put it. And that's not to say that what he said wasn't important or even true. It just, the way he linked those two things didn't make sense to me personally. And then another thing that I'll just say about the whole like opinion thing, if you have a platform, it's one thing to have an opinion, it's another thing to share with millions of people. This is probably the biggest thing that I disagree with. I don't think sharing your opinion should be seen as bad. I think that sharing your opinion is really important. and that you should share your opinion no matter who you are. That's not to say that your opinion is right, but I'm just gonna read what I wrote here because I think that not sharing your opinion could be one of the most dangerous things that you could do. If we're talking about dangerous things here, that's what I feel like. I think that when you share your opinion, I think the more different opinions share with our world, the better chance we have at making things better. I mean, you're not gonna find, well, you might find someone that agrees with you, but in my experience, I have never met anyone that agrees with me on everything. And I think that's just the way the world works. So I think if we acknowledge that, like, okay, maybe there isn't one right opinion, because like an opinion is a viewpoint, and I think viewpoints should be shared so that you can better understand people who don't share your viewpoint. Okay, so what I wrote here, I think that there is truth in what Sam or this person is saying, but personally, I think the problem that is being addressed is being blamed on something that, even if it were corrected, wouldn't stop what the problem is from being a problem. And I think that's what I was trying to say earlier, is those like linking his lack of, or his dangerous rhetoric, or his lack of empathy because his dangerous rhetoric, with putting trans lives in danger. That's, I mean, I don't feel like I'm very qualified to speak on this, but I don't know. That's, this is so hard. This is why I waited so long to make this video. Okay, that being said, this person goes on to say, that said, growing up is a learning experience. I'm sure many opinions you have now will change in the years to come. Same with mine. Thank you for sharing and keep being curious about the world. I wanted to give some insight into the controversy surrounding his special and why so many people are hurt and upset by it. So that's why I really love this comment. I mean, I obviously, like, in some ways I disagreed with it, but he didn't say it in a way that was like looking down on me at all. At least like that it felt like. And that's a way where I feel like I can actually engage with this person and learn something from them. Thank you, Sam, for commenting that. And I am thinking about what you said and like turning it around in my mind. I hope what I said made sense. Okay, so Squirrel Child comments a timestamp, and then, but it doesn't feel like he's attacking people. That's the thing. You wouldn't understand that though because you aren't trans. His jokes directly offend trans people and they aren't meant to. Joking with trans people is okay, but joking about them is different, and it's not okay to make fun of people. Okay, I like the last bit, the joking with trans people is okay, but joking about them is different. That makes a lot of sense to me. I agree with that. This person told me that I'm not trans again, which is like, that was my other argument. It's just, I don't feel like it's fair for her to tell me that I'm not trans. And like, I'm kind of scared to say that, but one thing I want to say, and I don't even really know how to express this, but I grew up in an extremely religious community where I'm still like working through a ton of stuff that I didn't even know were a part of my idea of myself. And this feels like that, like someone telling me what I am or what I'm not. It's obviously a much more blatant way, but there is so much identity stuff. I did a little research before this, and it seems like the biggest cause of the deaths in the LGBTQ plus community are from suicide. And one of the things that I personally think, if you can't accept yourself, like what other option do you have? It's either you create this illusion or you can't live. And of course, there's so many more reasons for why these things happen, but I feel like these types of comments, like saying you're not trans so you wouldn't understand or you don't have a right to comment, are fueling exactly the thing that I would hope these people are fighting against, which is this issue of these people not feeling like they can be in our world for whatever reason. I'm sure there's so many different reasons. Okay, here's another comment from Christopher Rollins. This person says, "Don't let anyone change your mind for you. Dave Chappelle is a funny person that makes me laugh. Don't worry about what others think about anything you do. Be you. Everyone wants to turn things political. You don't want that." I mean, I appreciate the comment. This person is kind of telling me what to do, which I don't like as much. I know that that's being a little nitpicky, but it's just, when I see a comment, if it's someone just telling me what to do, even if it's what I want to do or what I'm arguing that I should do in the video, it just feels like, especially for someone that I don't know, it feels kind of weird to me personally. That's not to say that I don't appreciate this comment. Behind every comment, someone's expressing something that's important to them. I would hope that's why they're commenting. So thank you for all these comments. I hope this video makes sense. It's gonna be tough to edit because this is really hard for me to talk about. It's not my comfort zone at all. I do get passionate about like trying to figure out things in my brain, but this is a very sensitive topic. And that's one of the things that I have to say, just in general. I think even the fact that like I am making this video and those people commented those things, there's a bigger issue here. And I think it's good if what Dave Chappelle, his controversy, or if he said something wrong, that it got me here. And so that's another reason why I think people should continue to express their opinions, because, you know, opinions show you something about the world that is true, whether it's someone's misunderstanding of something wrong or an issue. So, but it takes a lot of courage to share what you think about something. Even though it's like, it's kind of a gray area, I don't think we should be putting pressure on people who have a wider audience to not share what they think. And of course, you know, he shares it in a way that might not be as palatable to people in jokes or in some people's minds making fun of people, which I don't think I have any argument with. I do think he is making fun of people. But people are just so wrapped up in things that sometimes that's what I feel like we need, is just the comedy. I feel like, at least in this case, we have the opportunity to listen to someone and that person can tell us something about the real world in a way that doesn't make it feel like it's the end of the world. So that was kind of deep. I wasn't really expecting to say something like that, but I really just want to say though, we're just dealing with people here. So, you know, and like I said before, you have no idea what someone has been through and is going through. So all you can do is just try to do the best you can with what you have. Yeah. please, please don't judge me too harshly on this video. I did quite a bit of work to try and make sense of how I felt about these comments and respond in a way that wasn't just shutting down the conversation, because I really do value like learning. And like I said, I think it's important for people to share their opinions. That's really important to me. So I don't want to say something that makes people feel uncomfortable with sharing their opinions. That being said, there's a way you can share your opinions that makes people want to engage with you, and there's a way where people feel attacked or defensive. So yeah, this is a long vlog. Thanks for watching. If you have opinions on this, definitely feel free to comment. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.